Greetings and welcome to Matrix Unlocked 34. This follows a request to talk about healing. The channel is Macho1234 Golf. I'll put the link in the description. Brilliant channel, some very good information, very nice short videos to watch. So I recommend, that's another channel I'm going to recommend. So healing, not something I can actually teach. I don't think it's to my own personal experience, and it goes back to 1994. And it was when I was going through the Ardennes Valley, and it's like I was getting flashbacks from a previous life, and there's still buildings in that area with bullet holes in the walls, and I could see in my mind it actually happening at the time. That seemed to unlock something. And then it was an Austria coach trip, and this one school teacher, there was the hotel liking to this teacher, shall we say, and so she introduced me to Reiki, the Dr. Usui method, I think it's called, rediscovered in Japan, which is, for those that don't know, it's hand healing. I was thinking about this just before making this video. The next bit, it's such a blur, I can't remember how it came about, but from that, having the Reiki performed on me, and it was like going into a really nice deep sleep, very relaxed. And when I sort of came out of it, as it were, I looked up, and the person that had been doing the Reiki healing on me, I couldn't see them. All I could see was like a halo. What most people would think of as like a Mary Magdalene figure from all the depictions. That's the only way I can describe it. But the next bit's a blur, but I ended up going on the basic Reiki course using this method, this Dr. Usui healing method. And at the end of I think it was 2 days, over 2 days, with the person sort of here, as it were. That's the sort of the basic entry level into Reiki healing. And the course leader said to me, "You'll combine this with something else." That was 94. So for the next 20 years, I suppose, I spent my time looking for that something else and never actually found it as such, until a friend of mine was having some bother, and I had this idea I would sort of use it in reverse. It's probably not a good thing to do, really, but it didn't work in that way. It flipped over into something very good. Now, what I actually saw in my mind's eye was like 2 hands doing this, and I could see vertebrae, like a vertebrae in the back being pushed back into place. These hands were like pushing it. It wasn't my hands that I could see. It turned out from this that the healing had jumped across from the person I'd sent it to a relative of theirs who had got a bad back, and it sorted it out for them. And it's like, wow, this is master level Reiki that I'm doing here. I'm channeling it. And this is sort of happened purely by accident. I would say if you feel healing is right for you, because this is the other thing I was told, that I wouldn't be a healer and gone on to the next two levels of Reiki to the master level and paid. They're expensive to do, and I don't think this is something that should be charged for. This is my personal opinion. Obviously, people are giving up their time, and if they decide to go down the route of being self-employed or bring in an extra income and use, doesn't right. And I'm quite happy to do it. It does work. I've had lots of people since who've asked me for healing, and all I've asked for them to do is to say, let me know how it goes, and let me know the outcome. And it's worked every time, as far as I can remember. I don't think I've had any failure. There's been so many that I can't really remember most of them now. It just sort of, if I get asked, I will do what I can. It's an interesting experience being the one that's channeling the energy. What I basically do is fairly instantaneous. With the Reiki, you're taught to visualize a lotus flower opening up on the crown. This is almost like learning to drive a car, because it becomes second nature. I don't even think about it. I don't constantly think about any of this sort of preparation. If somebody asks for healing, I just can feel the energy flow, and I picture two like beach balls, one in each hand, and then I just throw them. Think of that person. In the mind's eye, I will get different pictures. It may be the area of their body that is the problem. The energy feeling can be, my hands can go very warm or they can go very cold. I will see different colors. Normally the color matches the chakra closest to that part of the body as well. There's a spiritual connection definitely with all of this. It almost feels like saying secrets of the trade in a way, but I'm quite happy to share this because I think it is something that it should be open and talked about. Everything to do with this spiritual awakening. If we can't talk about these things, then that's pretty poor. It's all about openness and transparency anyway. So that's basically all I do. I just feel this energy, and I've now tried doing it where I'm feeling it coming up from Earth to balance it and see what effect that has. And if it has a much more positive effect, or hopefully won't have a detrimental effect, it is sent out with the right intentions. That's the important thing as well. And I switch off from everything else. I don't sit in front of the laptop and do it when the laptop's on, for example. I would close that down, or I'll go in a different room and I will send out the healing. And I'm on my own when I do it. There's no other energies interfering from anybody else. I think that's important as well. Because I think we're sort of magnetic and we draw energies towards us. If we're channeling energy, I should imagine it's a huge energy that's actually being drawn, and we could actually be drawing in somebody else's energy who's not actually involved in this. So I think it is important to be very responsible. The thing with Reiki as well is to ask if a person has a pacemaker, because it can send these haywire. It is very powerful, and the whole idea is to heal somebody, not to kill them off. So that's always a thing. This is always a thing to ask if you're going to do any sort of healing, because you don't want to upset things and make things worse. The whole idea is to make things better. Presentation, I played it back, and I missed lots of questions and things. So I'm hoping that in the comment section, people will repeat the question side panel that they're easy to miss. And I find, well, not only I've got this horrible LED light shining straight at me to when this laptop computer is on. A lot of the time I shut my eyes when I'm talking because it's sort of a channeling, as it were. It's a wonderful experience. If you feel, this is, I think, is the best guide with this. If you feel that healing is the thing for you, then you'll do it anyway. And the opportunities will present. In 1994, I don't even know how. Oh, I think I went into a shop that had crystal. I bought some. It was in the very early days of looking into anything spiritual, with any sort of awareness, I suppose. I think throughout my life, I've always been aware, but when you're younger, you can't express these things, which doesn't help, and you don't know what's going on. And it took me a while, even with Facebook, I didn't know about spiritual groups and things at all for them. And but I was sort of 2012, that magic year, change things. That saying about your life flashes before your eyes really does, because you do, in that split second, it's going through your mind, oh, pain in the chest, this is it. And crazy as it might sound, within that split second, I was also thinking, now what am I going to do for a job? How am I going to survive? I won't be able to work again. I'll be on the scrap heap. And it's all within that split second that is going through the mind. I was half asleep and I got this massive chest pain suddenly, and I thought, oh, this is it. That, I would say, is because it didn't. There was no problem. There was never anything found. It was almost like a phantom heart attack, I suppose, is a way. The sensations were real, but there was nothing showing up on any tests. And in the end, I got fed up with being used as a pincushion with an ECGs. And I did jokingly say at one time, maybe I should get tattoos saying stick here for these 12 things, because every nurse seemed to, the wires were all tangled up and they couldn't decide which bit to put where. And then you've got that horrible sticky residue of those stick-on things to try and peel off your skin and leave your skin behind. So yeah, I got fed up with the whole thing of not getting anywhere with that. And but I could feel myself changing, and my interests in things were changing as well at the time. Then it went on to 2014, and then almost, well, by accident, finding that I could send out healing, and it's sort of progressed from there. The most wonderful healing I was asked to do was for a tree, and the connection, because you sort of connect with the recipient. Yes, I get it right. Macho 1 2 3 4 golf. Anybody else listening, do go to this lady's channel. Fantastic, marvelous. You'll learn a lot. Yeah, so this is in response to your request about talking about healing. Hopefully, I don't know if you've missed the first sort of 14 minutes, but it's there anyway. I can only talk from a personal aspect. I wouldn't know how to teach it. It just is, I think, is the best way. A lot of this goes back to sort of what people have said who've been recipients of organs from donors, where they take on the interest of the donor. maybe they never had an interest in reading books before, and then after the operation they suddenly start reading books. That's because it's like the mummification process with the pharaohs, those 7 jars with the organs. Obviously the soul is contained within in several parts. I think it's 7 within the torso. Your soul is basically your torso, your torus field. These words are all connected: the aura, the torus, the Torah, the tarot. Just change the letters round to Taria in that. I wish I could remember some of the questions that were asked in the last live feed, because I missed them. Hi, Light Moon. I'm going to try and keep up as the comments move, because sometimes the connection can be rather awkward and mess about, and it's slow. It's quite interesting as well with the subtitles what it substitutes that then doesn't make any sense if you were to, if English isn't your first language and you're going by the subtitles, but it's sort of amusing in a way and probably deliberate to try and disguise words, I should think, depending on how closely we're all being watched. But I don't have a fear of it. Hey, I'm an actor. That's all we all are, really. This is a world stage. Pick a starring role. That's all I say, because you are all stars. Together we are a universe. This goes back to this thing I said about Russian dolls, where vessels, and then it's all maritime terms, all connected with the sea, with everything. It's sort of a vessel within a vessel, a container in a container. Who was it? There's somebody made a comment on that. It's just half come back to me. I can't remember what they said, but it made perfect sense as well. See, this is the sparking. Yes, we are the stars, and it is getting bizarre. The funniest one I've experienced is when I've got 2 conversations going simultaneously on Messenger, and at the same time, word for word, the same message, but in response to 2 totally different things. I mean, what are the chances of that? I don't believe in coincide dance, coincidence anyway. What is meant to be will be. Hi, DJ Harden. Oh, wow. 3 Russian dolls, and I've mentioned Russian dolls twice today. And I think that was sparked by something somebody else said as well. Anyway, this is the thing: we are energy, or we are light. We are sparking off of each other. We're all links in a chain. We are individually a universe, but we're within a universe. We are a collective body. I had a conversation with somebody about, what if we are this creator, this source is like a giant, shall we say, human, and we're actually within the heart, in it, in a reality within the heart, within that thing. It open to all sorts of speculation, but that's I think a fantastic one. Coincidence as well, because we are participant ants. Think of Bug's Life. If one of these ants wakes up, these parasitic locusts lose their control, and that was all pulling together. That is, I think that is such a wonderfully influential and truth telling film. I'd rate that as one of the best, for certain, because it gives away so much in that line by Hopper about, if one of these ants wakes up, there are so many of them compared to us. You got to sort of feel sorry for the dark side, because they must be really in a bit of a frenzy by now. Amusing though. But They bring it upon themselves. This is the thing. It is all about reflection, and it's not a case of reacting aggressively to aggression, because there's plenty of that with. I mean, I've not had it. Well, the way I deal with it, if I get people call me crazy or try and ridicule me, I will just remain polite and let them carry on. Sometimes they will rant and rave until they run out of steam. And then I've even had one where they've actually apologized, because I thought it said so-and-so has commented. This is about the 15th comment on this particular. I can't even remember what it was about. It's that trivial. But I thought, oh, I'll have a look at this one. And it's like, they've apologized after all this letting off steam. And this is the thing, the hostile reactions from these non-awake people, shall we say, they've been misled, but their anger is coming out at you, but it's actually at themselves. But they are too cowardly and not honest enough to face themselves. That's the thing to remember. The misled you cannot hate. It's forgive them, for they know not what they do, basically. You can only feel pity for them. It's the other thing I was thinking earlier. You get it a lot in the films where you get the mountain climbers, and they're all tied together around the waist with a rope. And then something goes wrong and they all fall off. And the one that's just hanging will sometimes make the ultimate sacrifice, as it were, and cut the rope to save the other 3 or 4, rather than pulling them all down. And if you think energetically with that as well, this is the thing. If you react and get pulled into this, they're going to just pull your energy down. It's having the logic to cut off. This is what Christine spoke about on a video I've only just watched, Holographic Multiverse, because she's got 2 channels, and I think it's on that one. I will put the link in the description at the end of this about that one. I mean, you just reflect it back at them. Take responsibility. If they call you crazy, then they call you crazy. So what? As she says, it's right. Who is going to get angry and react? And how's it going to leave you feeling? This is the thing. You've got to. It's not just observing everything else and everybody else. It's observing ourselves, looking within. It's like, well, how did I deal with that last time? Could I have done that better? And it's by making the mistakes as we go, then we're better and better. And there was a time I used to, when I was new to this, especially with finding out all these things on Facebook, and then I was seeing some real horrific animal cruelty things and getting really upset about it. And all I was doing was just making myself feel low and feel angry and frustrated because I couldn't do anything directly about it to stop it. And it wasn't just one post, it was several posts. And it's like, I've got to cut off from this because this is not actually doing me any good. I've got the picture now. I know, well, I'm not even going to say because it's just awful. Every despicable thing from horse racing, the cruelty that goes on in that, because it's betting and gambling and it's all about the money. It's not about the welfare of the horses. That's just one example. And it's right across the spectrum. It's just cruelty and barbaric. And I've got the picture. I don't need it. It's the same as that film, The Human Caterpillar. I don't need to watch it. I'm not going to gain anything from it. I get the picture enough. Yes, they will. You've only got to see those Black Friday sales the day after Thanksgiving and being grateful for what you've got. Then it's the worst displays of human behaviour you'll ever see. I mean, if there are aliens, like in, I don't know, the Jetsons or whatever, and in these little sort of flying bubble car things, they think, good grief, give that a wide berth, put a keep clear parameter around it. It's embarrassing to think that you start, well, they're not the same species. The mentality is totally different. And I do think it is Darwin's theory of evolution is a flip over of what they intend for humanity. But it's not the physical body of a chimpanzee with a different body plan, different number of chromosomes becoming a human. It's all within a human shape, but mentally it is there is a difference. There is, I think it's this letter H. It's the two hemispheres, the left and right brain, and the bridge between the two. Now, there was something I saw yesterday on this, and I can't think what it was, about this, keeping the bridge open. And yeah, I'm in touch with my divine feminine. I'm not afraid to say that, because it's the bridge between the two. It's nothing to do with the physical sexuality. That's the Hollywood dark side flip over again, because they take away the spiritual and the mental and they leave the physical. You've only got to look at the difference between the Gnostic sacred union and the pornography. The difference between the two is phenomenal, and one is all about control over another. They reflect. It's, yeah, aspartame fluoride. That is, oh, thank you, Macho. All our questions shall be answered. Yes, I'm seeing this. These synchronicities and things. Another example of this, coming from doing that work with the wood and thinking about how wood and water and holding memories and things being ingrained, in the case of wood. And then thinking about as above, so below. And what about, instead of just this, like with the healing, feeling that energy coming in, what about from Mother Earth, energy coming up? So I asked for someone to come to me asking for healing, and sure enough, I got a message, can you send me some healing? So I thought, right, we'll try this. It feels right for this particular person anyway, under their circumstances, and it's not going to be an overnight thing. It's going to take some time. But when I have done the healing and then come back to the keyboard, I can still feel the tingling sensation in the fingers, and I can feel the energy flowing. Oh, it's even talking about it, it's funny. It's like, I don't know if it's like electrical charge, I suppose. I don't know. I don't even know the words to describe it. It's like when I did this Reiki course. At the end of the course, I can. This is something else that's just come back to me. I can remember seeing woodland with a stream, and the other side of the stream was a wolf. The wolf apparently is associated. I didn't know when I had this is in the mind's eye. The wolf is associated with teaching. The river was more like, what's that stone called? It's a very silvery one, hematite, I think it is, or hemanite. It's a favourite of mine anyway, and it was like liquid. Was not like earth at all. The only way I can, or the nearest I can describe it, it looked like the sunlight, the way the sunlight comes through a stained glass window in, say, a cathedral or a church, where you get that colour effect on the stonework. But they weren't earthly colours. I can't even describe the colours. They were totally different from anything. Tangerine, I think it was a tangerine colour, like a pale orange, possibly. But the rest is all a haze on the actual colours. I can't even. There's nothing I can. There's no point of reference I can Well, there is a point of referencing, obviously, with the colours in this three-dimensional world, but I can't put it into context with what I saw for that. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? This is where words fail drastically to explain and express things. There's no. It's funny. People said, "Oh, you're the word wizard." Well, I'm lost for words at times with trying to explain things because there isn't the words there. It's like music. There's things that music, and this has got to be sound vibration, even at 440 hertz recordings and things. It can still uplift you and give you a nice feeling. And there's something within sound that is beyond words for definite. And I'm just trying to keep making sure I'm not missing any comments, because I feel awful when I've seen some of the things on playback and then thought, I missed that question, and it's not. I intend to ignore anybody or ignore any questions. I welcome any questions. Can't say I've got the answers, but I will be honest enough to say that I don't know the answer. If I don't know, I'm not going to try and bluff it. That would be wrong. That's not founded on truth either. Then that's just. But I will say, in my opinion, or I would guess it is this. But I will make that clear in that case anyway. Not cold coffee now, it's almond milk. Yeah, so that's basically, I know it's been rather convoluted, 33 minutes. Rather convoluted, and about this, my experience with the healing. It was from someone who was a Reiki master and doing this course that started me off on that. But what they actually did, I don't actually know. Unlocked something that's there, and this is the thing. It is all within all of us. Well, DJ Harden, yes. Where is space? What is the limit of your imagination? The universe is within. They've got us in a world because we're whirling. Things are going round and round in our head from the rubbish that they tell us. The other analogy I can use to this is like we all experience and can feel something like anger and pain, all the emotions, and they feel very real, but they haven't got a physical form. All the dark side seems to do is to twist something that is real. So the space is between our two temples. Same as the all-seeing eye. It's the third eye. We're all part of a source. So we are the individual experiences of source, because source is basically a child. It's the inner child. It's within and without. That's the best way I can describe this. So saying about I can't get my head round this, people will say, well, it's not literal that their skull is going to expand, but people will say it without even a second thought about what they're actually saying. But it's what your imagination is prepared to accept. If you're this external mind control, and man has been to the moon, NASA scientists tell you this, and you're triggered by those keywords. A scientist, well, if a scientist says so, it must be true because they've got all these degrees and initials after names, so therefore they know more than I do. They know jack shit. They're still actors and actresses. I mean, look at Neil deGrasse Tyson. That is an actor. Stephen Hawking, in the three or four versions of the same lookalike. certainly the autobiography doesn't read anything like I would expect that this person was supposed to be. The language doesn't feel right. Nothing feels right about it, any of it. No way have we been to the moon. And is so you haven't got to go anywhere to see this. You've only got to think about the distance between the surface of the Earth to the lowest clouds. Let's just say, for example, that it's 20 miles difference. Well, if the sun sets, the light would illuminate the entire underside of every cloud. And let's face it, we're not short of clouds in the sky, are we? But it never does. You'll see the illumination on the side of it and above it. If the sun was setting and we were on a curved, on a ball, then that light would illuminate the underside of the clouds. You also have, which disproves the fact that we're on this ball spinning or not and whizzing round the sun, and which is whizzing round something else at these fantastical speeds that our bodies would not take the g-force of it anyway. You look at the Greek writings and anything since, and you'll find the constellations are all the same. Now there's this thing of precession, 25,920 years. If it takes that long just to go around the sun, you would have a different, you'd have completely different constellations than just the same 12. And think about it if you're in a vehicle or on a train. Anything that is close to the windows is going to be moving perceptibly faster than anything in the far distance. Now, you've only got to go on, do a Google search, put in Orion's belt and look at the first of those 3 stars and what it says about that and the distance that is supposed to be from the Earth. And then you look at the second and the third one. They are nowhere near each other. Therefore, if we were moving Orion's belt, the relative position between just those 3 stars alone would get closer or further away as we were moving. So therefore, we are not moving. Things are the same, and this is not just with the stars, this is with everything. This is with building construction of this Tatarian, the pyramids, everything. It is no different today than it was back then, just smaller scale. These things people are thinking are cut rocks are not, it's cast. These things people think are statues created with a hammer and chisel. Come on. A fishing net with all the intricate details, that is not with a hammer and chisel. And what if you struck the hammer too hard? There's going to be a bit broken off. What you can do is start again. They are so anatomically perfect copies. Everything is in proportion. They are too perfect. They are molded. It's Occam's razor with so much of this. The answers were never meant to be difficult to find. The difficult part is seeing through all the deceptions. And there are multiple deceptions because it's a predator. And like any predator, it wants to get close to its prey and it does not want to be discovered. So it will try and cover all bases, but it is a pressure cooker and the lid is being prized off from so many different angles, so many different angels. We've cracked this. We are just subject to this thing, this linear thing called time in this 3 dimensions. So it has to play out in a certain order. This is what I think you'll find that this climate change is all about. They are trying to speed events up and bring about the grand solar minimum ahead of time to try and change things. But they just don't learn the lesson. If you look at the Zecharia Sitchin books about the Anunnaki, the crux of the argument between Enki and Enlil was whether something can be divined or whether something is predetermined. Now, what is divine? Now, divining is looking into the future. something is divine, which so it's supposed to be royalty. That's why they use the word divine. That's the double meaning of it. They're not divine. They're fake. They're imposters. They shouldn't be there. They're nothing special. They do not have power over us at all. That is also part of the deception, to make us look for something greater than ourselves, when all we need to do is look within. That is where it all is. Their own hubris will be their downfall. Yes. I do take a sort of, this is my dark side really, I do take a sort of sadistic pleasure in the thought that they will destroy themselves, purely based on what they have done for so long. And going with this idea of resets and back history being changed, we don't know how. I mean, the Mayans talk about the end of the fifth age of the sun. That implies there's been 4 previous ages. So we could be going into this 6th version of humanity. That's speculative on my part. I have nothing apart from feeling to back this up with, and just the comparative things and drawing conclusions, like with this Mayan 5 ages of the sun. 5 senses as well. Obviously 5 associated with anything satanic, because it's obviously the flip side of it. So it's just piecing the bits together. Oh, thank you. Well, I'd rather be the one nailing it than be the one that's being nailed. I don't want to be stuck to a cross. We all have our crosses to bear anyway. I like the play on words. But yeah, it's there's always a duality to everything, in the words, in the sounds. The two versions of pray with an E or an A readily comes to mind. To write something. Now, are we talking about R-I-T-E, writes and spells, or are we talking about writing? Remember, you've got cursive writing as well. The best one, if I was given a form or asked to sign something, I would do what it says. It says sign nature, so I draw a symbol of earth. That would be my answer to that. Likewise, if somebody says, can you prove who you are? I would look for a reflection in a mirror and say, yes, that's definitely me. I know who I am, and that's just legal fiction. That's irrelevant. This is so stupid, this whole system. See the flip from D to G. Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you've got the pole star, or the dog star. Dog is the reverse of God. And then you've also got to think about the Egyptian jackal-headed god of the underworld, Anubis. A new business. Might need to put some thoth into this, because the bird is the word. Have you not heard? Everybody knows that the bird is the word. Eddie and the Trashmen, and they're not talking rubbish. Again, I think that song, and I do like the Family Guy version of it. I think that's hilarious. Interesting with Family Guy and Simpsons and all the things that are put out in those as well. But yeah, that song is very revealing. I think that is a case of remote writing through musicians. They're not aware of the message they're actually putting out. It's just channeled through them. Oh yes, Mies Gleason, DG are also musical notes, vibrations. Did you know there is actually a note with a letter H? I had someone say, no, there's only 7, it's A to G. I said, no, there's H as well. I said, in German, B minor is classed as H, which is why you have bell sounds making BACH, and Dmitri Shostakovich used DCH, which is DC and B minor, as his sort of signature. Yeah, the music is a huge thing, and I've noticed that every retail outlet you go into, there's speakers and there's music constantly going, and I do wonder about the effect on the subconscious, and it does look like this frontal temporal dementia is really starting to take hold, because I notice when you try and talk to people and get them to even, you're just trying to plant a seed with them about these phone masks, for example, and then the green box with it will say caution radiation, and you point something out as obvious as that to them, and you can see their face in their eyes, they just glaze over. It's like there's an AI program. And I've suggested that just like in the science fiction films, in one of the Terminator films with the Skynet, it's got built-in defense mechanisms, and that is being done through the minds, and it is shutting people down so they cannot join this space void between their two temples. Very good, DJ Harden. Yes, wearing antiperspirant, you've got glands under your armpits. It's taking it direct into the body. All sting, just natural methods every time. But I've gone vegan. I've cut out pretty much most processed foods. I don't touch, because it's got the word cess right in the middle of it for a start. And what goes into the process is my question. They're not sold for health. That is quite obvious from the insanity of what's allowed to happen, what's being pushed, and what's being held back and suppressed. Yeah, chemtrails. I'm going to say with that, yes, they're very real, but also don't feel the fear of it. Be aware of it, but don't feed into the fear energy, if that makes sense. Because clearly, let's take, for example, the word church comes from the Greek goddess Circe, who would hypnotize people, lure them into a building, and then lock the door and then feed on their energy. This is what is happening through education, through religion, right across the spectrum. That also shows how much power and energy our souls actually have, that it takes that long. And this is the Prometheus, the feeding on the liver again, the eagle feeding on the liver, because it is, you look at the symbol of the eagle, what that's associated with, and it's two-faced, it's a double-headed eagle, traditionally, because it is looking both ways. See, they're seeing both sides, but then they're doing it in a self-serving way. They're not seeing both sides and doing it in a benevolent way. So, like I said before, on previous videos, let's turn Agenda 21 into Agenda 12. Not make 2 into 1. Let's respect divine masculine and divine feminine in equal measure and get the balance right again. This is the tilt of the earth. See, this is how they change things. They tell you there's a tilt of the earth. Yes, there is. It's an imbalance between the divine feminine and the divine masculine. It's been a patriarch system that has an absolute hatred for women, new creation, new life into this world, which is what the dark side can't do. They're trying to reverse engineer and create their own version of it, and it's failed. They've had their time. They are on borrowed time. Oh, you feel protected. You've been put on this spiritual path. It can be said that you made a soul contract to do this. It's amazing. Look how many people are going through this now, and we're all here at this time. How many people, if you talk to them, you'll find the year 2012 comes up a lot. A lot of people say, "Oh, I had my first awakening experience in 2012." I think it goes back further in varying degrees, but that seems to be the big year that a lot of people seem to think, aha, something's not right, something doesn't add up, and it has snowballed. The promising signs, or probably one of the most promising signs, was 9/11. If you'd have even mentioned, like I did, on the Monday morning after that had happened, I happened to say, hang on a minute, how do you get Afghanistan linked to this? Nobody's for carrying out this act. And straight away, oh, you're on the side of the terrorists, because the term conspiracy theorist wasn't out there at the time. So I was sort of ostracized, myself and another work colleague, because we'd challenged the official narrative on that event. But then within a year and onwards, look how that's changed. That's one thing you can start mentioning to people. And there is a growing number of people who are thinking, something doesn't add up here. They may not understand the bigger picture of it or the symbolic reason it happened. See, that's Agenda 20 cube set in the ground. Mustn't forget all that symbology. This is not coincidental, all these things. Hi out to this world. Let's keep up with keeping up with the comments. Yeah, the speed, and you'll see this. I said a while ago that October is going to be an interesting month, what with Halloween and the moons and things. And this run up to the 21st of December, to the winter solstice, it's going to escalate. This is the phase. Those that are on the path, a lot more is going to come. And then watch next April. That could be quite a revelation. If you count back 42 months, which will take you to 2016, the empire that's supposed to trump all others is going to make a big error. I've been shown this. I think you can all join the dots from that key word I've used there as to what I'm referring to. You'll notice also the British Prime Minister. Look at the colour of the hair. It's a deliberate analogy to Aryan, this laughing, because Tartarian, play on words again. Vitamin D from the sun, a solarian, a breatharian, breathing in air, and that is part of your food source. They've all got that word Aryan, Aries. It all ties in, Tartarian. Everything joins up. One. Yeah, that's another thing, the number sequences. I'm sure you may repeatedly get the same one. You may get combinations of them. Just acknowledge them. They're little prompts. They come up. You may make a comment or something, and then you'll see that number somewhere. Could be on the washing machine, could be in the speedometer on your car, could be a phone number, could be the battery percentage on your phone on the screen. It can be all sorts. those numbers come through. It's amazing the way this all works. I find it fascinating, the way this is all coming together. And I've said it before, and I want to say it again: truth-seeking and spiritual. That's like two caduceus almost. There needs to be more of a crossover, because the end result is the same. The same intent, the same ambition of creating a better world, but coming from two slightly different angles. One being the spiritual higher consciousness side, the other from the, hang on a minute, things don't add up. But it's a journey within. This is the thing to remember. It's not boldly going where no man has been before, because that's an enterprise, that's a business. And notice it's Captain Kirk, Cersei's again. Let's break down the word church. You need to see twice, because you've got C as the first and the fifth letter. You've got the H. Well, that's the two caduceus and the link, or the two hemispheres of the brain. H for hemisphere, maybe, or the head. Your heavens all starts with an H. So between the two CHs, you are. That's what the church is. It's between your two temples. The church is within. They're not very clever, this phonetic Phoenician alphabet, really. It's left too many roots in. I think maybe it's so complex that they have to leave those reminders in, and it does seem to follow a pattern that they have to follow certain rules as well. They have to tell us, but because their nature is deceptive, expect it to be deceptive the way it's told. Expect them to go for playing both sides, the good cop, bad cop route. There's been some protesters with road blockades. I'm not paying any attention to it because it is all theatre. So you've got two camps here. You've got those that are stuck in traffic in the debt slave system, whatever work they're in, and cause them an inconvenience. They're not very happy. They're not going to be happy with the judge. They're not going to be happy with the protesters. The protesters are going to be encouraged to go out and do it again. So you've got two sides to always look for. Always look for the silent. It's called the hidden hand for a reason. For that reason, because it is manipulating from behind the scenes. You're just seeing the play out side of it. If you're seeing just the judge, and of course the media will try and push it. So you pick a side, which is why we must stay neutral to all this, because it is purely theatre. Oh, right, 321, having to do with, I'm not even sure if I'm going to pronounce this, Opacus and the Virgin Dragon, the sign from heaven. Now that's interesting. The Virgin Dragon, well, that could be one of the Carduceus. That could be a symbolic. Something's coming into my mind with this, that to do with the reflection and projecting out. Well, what if the sun and the moon are projections of light from Earth onto a screen, and all the stars are, and those stars are our projections, meeting and seeing things eye to eye? Because that other saying about when you're in agreement with something, we see things eye to eye. It's in total balance. That's how I'm interpreting this anyway. Ophiuchus, yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, it's logic and it's astrological. See, I missed that one. I totally missed that one. It's amazing. yeah, we just, well, we do receive, but we do send out as well. I mean, the energy between us, words, comments, presentations on video. This is just awesome. Just enjoy the ride. It's going to be fun. Shame it's not 2012 really, because it would be almost funny to throw it back and like, well, it was 1912 with the Titanic, but this time we're going to flip it over. But hey, we're vessels in this citizenship, so we can still do it. We can go round the iceberg, and we can make it, and we will make it for definite. Cataclysmic event around the solstice. Yeah. Not only that, a confirming feeling, December, because I do feel that we're going to get a lot of money. I think it's going to be quite, and they are suppressing from the rest of us, but the whole thing is starting to collapse around them. So they will. I think this is possibly why they're trying to bring forward this grand solar minimum, artificially create it to try and avert something. Don't buy into the cataclysm. Actually, the word cataclysm. Let's have a look. Where are we? See, attack. I can't. My brain's not working right on this. Something I'm going to have a play about with the letters in cataclysm, because I'm sure there's another. There's something else in it. I'm going to have to say it over and over again slowly in my head, and it may even be reversed letters. Although Katak, it's the same either way round. It's got the letter T right in the middle, the same as Satan as well. Yes, that's. It's the 8th of November, so they say. Well, yes. Calendar, the sea all lender. Time is their baby. Kronos, old father time. Going with the idea of the Bible has a basis of truth in it. It says about the stars being, and the sun and the moon are the measurements of the day and the night, and the stars are signs to read. So they've added in this element of time, and wonder, is it 365 and a quarter days to do a complete circle? Or is it actually 360 and you've got these 5 extra days shifting things? Maybe this is why they say the seasons are changing as well, because they are shifting it. I mean, I did work this out. It would be a whole year in 60 years that could be slotted in on which way they're doing it. And I mean, this whole thing with this 365 and a quarter days, but we don't actually have a quarter day. We have to slip an extra day in. And this silly clock change. Now the sun's still in the same position. What was 3 o'clock is now 4 o'clock, but it's still 3 o'clock as far as I'm concerned. I'm not budging on that one. Although, well, I did on announcing the live feed on YouTube earlier, but because I thought people would be tuning in an hour later and that'll confuse them. So I did have to conform to the stupid time difference thing, much to my disgust. Yeah, astrology, I mean, I'm not up on it at all. I've got a basic grasp of some of it. I mean, I can't look up in the night sky and say, "Oh, that's whatever constellation, or that's whatever star." I'd need something else. Yeah, horses. I mean, your horses, Macho 1, 2, 3, 4. I know they'll have individual personalities. They will be guardians that have been sent to you. Animals are. That's another thing. If you start seeing a particular animal or bird or insect and the interaction with them, the way they will be different around you, you'll start to notice this. But pay particular attention to what it is, and then look at the mythical meaning of that animal and or insect or bird, because it's quite revealing and it will make sense to you. It's individual to each person. With this, with me, I get blackbirds and dragonflies. The dragonfly was probably the most. I'm going to end this in a minute, but I've mentioned the dragonfly. I mean, this was a magical experience I've got to share. Back in the summer, I think it was. I think it was in July, and something, I don't know, I just walked down to the pond in the garden, and there was a dragonfly, and I just sat down and I put my hand out like that, and it came and sat on my hand. Then it flew up onto my shoulder, and I thought I daren't turn my head because I don't want to get caught up in my hair. But I could hear like ticking sounds in my ear. It was like it was talking to me. Then it flew in front of my face and then went and sat back on my hand again. I mean, that was a wonderful experience. A dragonfly, it's a flying dragon. There was definitely a communication going on there. I've had a squirrel come up. Only ever happened once. It came up onto the windowsill and put its hand up against the glass. It's almost like it was saying thank you for some food. And those that have short one of about 2 minutes, I stopped it. It was interrupted because one of the blackbirds was sort of like to show this interaction with nature. Deer coming close, and now fox. Well, that's fantastic. Definitely look up the spiritual meaning of both of those. The deer, straight off the antlers, the antenna is coming to mind. There's something to do with that. Oh, that's brilliant! 70 birds. It's got rather cold here. There's still the odd blackbird here, but they will come back again. But sparrows have come back into this garden. They have been absent for years. This is another thing with all the things, all the negative things I see on Facebook about what's happening in the world, and then I go out in this garden, and it's the complete opposite. It's thriving. It's almost like a butterfly museum in the summer. They were everywhere. It's fantastic, and it's like, wow, I've never seen one with these. I mean, I don't know. I don't bother with the names. It's just a butterfly. But and moths have got beautiful patterns in their wings. They might not be the bright colours in the same way that butterflies are, but up close they are really beautiful. Ah, that's fantastic. Yes, I had a couple of squirrels come up to me in the park the other day, coming right up and then going up on the back legs. But I didn't have anything to give them, so next time I go to the park, I must know what squirrels like. And well, I know they like acorns and all this sort of thing, but take them something, I think, because it's definitely colder this year for the first time in quite a while. it's definitely getting progressive competition, because I like those. No, that's a brilliant idea. I can get some of those quite easily. Quite nearby, there's a shop that sells them. I think hopefully they're not in packets, they're loose, and get them in a bag or something rather than another plastic bag to dispose of. Chestnuts, yeah, I've probably dipped it. No, it might be all right, because it's that time of year. Yeah, I must go and see if I can get some chestnuts in the park. Not throwing anything at the tree to knock them down, though, only the windfalls. See, there's another word, windfall. I've had a windfall. Now, the nature windfall, it's what is freely given by the trees, but not the financial lottery version. Oh, there isn't a word or a phrase that they haven't corrupted in one way or another. It's really annoying. It does worry me in a way. Sort of watch my words, because I don't want to unintentionally cast something awful at anyone. I know there's the intent part that would have to go with it, but I still don't want to do it. So, where are we? Snow in New York State. I've never been there, but I just imagine it must. Well, from what I've seen, it gets bitterly cold. Too cold for my liking. I like the warmer weather. I mean, I remember saying on the hottest day of this year, if this was the minimum temperature in winter, I would be happy. But I can't complain, because we do get beautiful variations in the seasons, and it's a very flexible climate in the UK. We can grow. I mean, there's palm trees growing on the south coast, but they still get winters and things. Yeah, forecasting. Yes, of course. Duh, should have got that one. Forecasting. They definitely, because they are scripted, all these weather reports. There's no two ways about it. But yeah, that's sort of, just to recap the healing again. That personal, incredible experience, and then we've talked about the awakening and things. I hope that any of you who've got channels will also speak about your personal experiences of this as well, because the more we share, the more we learn from each other, the more we spark off of each other. Something you may say and describe about what's happened to you, somebody else may be going through that experience. And I remember when I was going through into 2013 and even into 2014, and I was trying to find who I was, and I thought, it's like, this doesn't interest me anymore. And I didn't know where to go. I wasn't in contact with anyone. I didn't even know of such a thing as a spiritual awakening and such, in the sense that we all know it today. Yes, Mies Gleeson, we do have a growing homeless problem. They have a silly situation that it has to be cold for so many nights consecutively before they make cold weather payments, and obviously the elderly are the ones that are suffering. But again, look, the technology is there. I saw I think it's in the United States, you can get roof tiles which are solar panels. They're a lot lighter than terracotta tiles. If you drop them, they don't break. So why hasn't that idea been adapted? And especially with retirement flats and things, old people's homes. I remember where I used to live. I looked out the window and said, look, you've got, I can see just from here, there are 17 potential roofs that could be used to harness solar energy. Now, anybody who's retired is not earning and putting money into the financial system. Now, I'm thinking of this in an ideal world. a benevolent world where that money would be used in the right way. They've contributed to the economy, so they should be allowed to retire. And why should they be paying for electricity and things? Like just using solar power, that could be pumped back. They could benefit from it. But as you know, everything is all back to front and crazy. Charities are not what they appear to be. You'll notice especially with the UK, the charities, the heads are always appointed. They're never out of the rank and file members or volunteers of these organisations. They're always people who are appointed, and they seem to come with rather large salaries. And where is that money coming from? Because that's probably donations people have made. Yeah, population reduction. As I said on the last one, you just look at the increase from 1 billion 120 years ago, and then look back to the previous 100 years and the previous 100 years before that, and things just don't start. They just don't add up on that alone. Just logically, we've had wars, and then this golden age of massive buildings. Well, who built them then? Because there's not enough people about. But it's I would say it goes in a 500-year cycle, as far as I can see, and a series of, because it is like the film The Cube, where as they're going from room to room, the history is being changed. You've got this whole thing with the Mandela effect, and a classic one is the Kennedy assassination car. Was it 6 people in the car or 4? Because you've got pictures, and I've seen ones that are definitely doctored pictures, photoshopped or whatever, and other ones, and then it's almost as if it is to just take what's the word I'm looking for here? Sort of raise the anchor from the mind to the reality. So you're now a floating vessel, drifting without an oar, without a compass, without a rudder. I think would be the best way to describe that. Yeah, it's amazing. You've got all these charities, and half these things, they're irrelevant and unnecessary, like cancer research. Don't need to do any research for a cure for cancer. The cures are already there. They're just suppressed or made illegal. Theoretically, I shouldn't get cancer ever. I'd like to be a cancer for the dark side. That quite appeals. Destroy them from within, as it were. Metaphorically, I'm not joining any secret societies. No, I'd rather do things openly and honestly and stick to that and just see how it goes. And we'll just carry on. But yeah, I've talked for 1 hour and 20 minutes now. Curing leather, yeah. Yeah, they're not cures with anything medical, they're treatments. But who is the treat for? I think the treat seems to be the financial gain that is made out of it. And oh yes, the Red Cross. Thinking of the Red Cross, think of the reverse colours of that, and you've got Switzerland, home of banking. See, there's not a combination of colours. There's not a symbol. There's not a number. There isn't a word that they haven't corrupted, or a system, or an idea that they haven't corrupted. They've replicated and twisted everything, and that's the thing, is to untwist it again and straighten it out. Because like when you've done something wrong and gone in prison, the saying in the UK is, "Oh, I'm going straight." Well, maybe that's where that comes from again, and because twisted, if you have a twisted mind, for example, what that's associated with as well. people will often use the expression twisted and sick. It's something that's horrific. So the words are that, listen very carefully to all these old sayings as well, because they are big clues. There's nothing new under the sun. Yeah, secret military order of Malta. Well, the Maltese cross is a flattened out pyramid, basically. If you actually draw a Maltese cross and then cut it out and then fold it, and you've got yourself a little pyramid there. That's all it is. It's just a two-dimensional overview, basically. But then also the joining between those to make the octagon, and you'll see that replicated in architecture, rotundas on buildings. Look up in the old bank buildings, and you'll see the circular windows. They're normally in segments of 8, which 8 being the infinity, keeping us in this loop as well. See, they twist the number 8 as well. It should be an eternity and an infinity of something good, but they're keeping it in a loopy loop instead of insanity. Yeah, Freemasons, they're called Freemasons because they didn't build anything. They just put plaster overlays with their decorations on it and claimed it's their work. That's why they are Freemasons. Zion. I mean, Z is the 26th letter of the alphabet. It's at the end. It's Sion, basically. In Sion, you can reverse and have noise, and then you've got the herd, and that the herd love to be heard. Talking about superficial things, but nothing of any substance. Where are we? But railways, again, something very wrong with the history of when they really started, I think. Suppressed technology yet again. 80% of jobs will be gone in the next 10 to 15 years. Yeah, they're supposed to be thinking, well, so I've heard they're supposed to be trying to invent new jobs. Ha ha. Again, this is another one of these things. The era I grew up on, by sort of the 1990s, we'd be in bubble cars on the moon, and we'd have all this technology is coming in and this automation. We'll have all this leisure time, which is a half truth, because if you're homeless and jobless, you have plenty of leisure time, but you don't have time to enjoy those things. But that's being put out as fear. But what people won't see is if 80% of jobs will go, the other 20% are going to be paying a lot of tax. But obviously they're trying to make people homeless and come up with all sorts of reasons to not pay you anything, but they take from you. I'm not going to follow the rules, the laws. I'm not going out to do anything ridiculous. I'm not obeying traffic lights, for example, because I don't want to be in a position where I'm putting somebody else in harm. But there are things I am going to do that is not consenting to this debt slave system, and I'm going to make a stand on it, and I will stick my neck out on it if I have to, because the way I see it, I've got nothing else to lose, and if I also feel protected. And it's not telling people what to do, but it is leading by example, I think. And if I can try and show a way of doing something that appeals to other people, or can really get this to snowball, and collectively, our creative minds are so powerful. We can come up with so many different ways. We can really run rings around this control system because there are so many of us and the numbers are growing, and they will not be able to keep control over this. It's statistically impossible, the way it's going. Yeah, Mish, I've said this before. Have a stay-at-home day. The problem is getting you to stick together with this, because if you could get everybody to say no, we're not doing this today, then it would collapse pretty quickly. But you've also got to bear in mind the infrastructure is most of them are going to panic. You've only got to look at Black Friday. So this is why this awakening is happening at the speed that it's happening. It's all perfectly worked out, as far as I can see. I'm in awe of the timing and the synchronicity. That the same soul family, the same mindset, the same way of thinking, the same benevolence, the same doing things from the heart. It's shown very much, or always comes across very much like depression, and you feel like you're the only one. But when you start talking to other people and communicating like this, you find there's actually quite a lot of us, and a growing number of us as well. Misha, take it you're in Australia, saying in the bush. I'm sort of in the UK, but yeah, the way I'm looking at doing this is finding a way, looking into generating my own power, and then like disconnect and just make a stand. Open the house up to some homeless people, maybe, and go from there. And then let's see what happens. I'm not making any definite plans. It's just go with the flow. What will happen will happen. Got to be sick of it. They've got to find it within themselves, and they've got to say, look, we've had enough of this, but not then moan about it and then go back into it again, because that's not achieving anything. People are so fearful of actually doing anything and putting their head above the parapet, as it were. But where is that spirit gone? This is the lion in The Wizard of Oz, who is lacking in the courage. That's the aspect of us all. Having the courage of our convictions. Well, I'll be convicted if I do this on my own, but so be it if that's the case. If that's the way it's going to be, that's the way it's going to be. That's the route I have decided. I have chosen. I'm doing this of my own free will, and it's going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy it. That's the only thing we can do. I can't wave a magic wand and put it right. But I just love this unfolding of it all. It is magical. This is real magic, not the tricks, which are cruel tricks, because pulling a rabbit by its ears, and what's happening with that rabbit the rest of the time when that's a cruel trick as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to see rubbish like that. I want to see the real magic of this spiritual awakening. That is wonderful, and that's what is happening, and it's absolutely brilliant. Oh, thank you, Mish. That's lovely. I appreciate all the comments, and I appreciate all of you that do YouTube videos and things as well. It doesn't suit everyone. I wouldn't expect everybody to do it. I would recommend making videos, not necessarily to show to other people, but to show to yourself. See how you come across. It'll build a confidence, because it is a thing to come over this thing with the camera. The only reason I don't sort of look at it most of the time is it's got LED lights that are firing straight at me, and it's not very good on the eyes, as I said earlier. Hi, I am here, and greetings. I apologise. I didn't. I missed a lot of your questions and comments, and you came out with some absolutely brilliant. Now, I'll have to go back and make notes on it, but hold on a minute. We've got a crisis here. Where's it gone? Just got a roll of cigarettes, shall we say? Everyone is wonderful. And this is the thing. Actually, the best way I can describe this is song lyrics by Hawkwind. It's a song called Spirit of the Age, and there's a line in there that says, "Oh, for the wings of anything but a battery hen. Being a clone, I have no thoughts of my own." If you considered every weakness something special of your own, and that is exactly what it is. It's not seeing something as a weakness, but seeing them of markers that make us individual. And it's collectively, we've got awesome. I mean, imagine if humanity, 7.5 billion people, all pulled in the same direction, what could really be achieved? The possibilities are infinite as to what we could do. It might seem like a dream, but it's a dream that's worth making a reality. Which reminds me of another song. What's it called? Silent Lucidity. I mean, that's a brilliant song to listen to. Interestingly, as well, in that song, if you watch the lyric version, you have the instrumental and the screen is completely black. So you could say it's in darkness. And then you have this voice saying, manifest, basically on the lines of manifest this dream and make it a reality in the now. And out of that darkness comes those words. There's a duality. We are in a world. You notice they put political spin. But the earth does rotate in a way. We need to turn it back. It doesn't have to be literal and figuratively. It can be allegorical in a sense. I mean, the tilt, like I said, it's the imbalance between the masculine and the feminine. That needs to be brought back into balance. The earth does need to do a 180-degree rotation. Instead of things going in reverse and going backwards and not making any sense, they need to just be flipped over. The polarity needs to be changed. So we're not polarized. Need to start seeing, we need to be clockwise because time is their thing. But we need to make it our time as well. It's my look. You're all doing it. You're just feeding me with words, and it's going to take a few generations, Light Moon, yes, but we need to generate them. I'm under no illusion it's going to be overnight, but I'd like to try and work with it. Well, I'm working with the intention we can do it in 10 years or under. I'd say we've already gone into Aquarius already. I've made a video on this. So much for saying I was going. If you look at the symbol of Aquarius, that's very interesting. Traditionally, and you'll see it with tribal people, it's women carry water, and obviously women carry water when they're carrying a baby. But it's a man, it's a masculine figure, but it's the outpouring. And I would say it's outpouring of emotion, outpouring of feeling. Instead of the male ego, it is from the heart, as Nicole has said on Stellar Vision channel, about it's the man needs to speak for the woman and the woman needs to speak for the man, and get rid of this imbalance and conflict between the two and work together. That is again is something worth working towards, because this system is absolutely ridiculous. We're supposed to have respect for our mother and Mother Earth, and yet with a lot of these things, women are treated as second class. Well, how can they be? They're the ones that bring the new life into the world. They can't be secondary. It has to be brought back into balance. Aquarius sun, a fellow air sign. Hey, I'm a Gemini. I should have been a Taurus. I was 10 days late. I didn't want to come out. I knew something was wrong and it was too soon. And I do actually remember being in the womb. It was like a pink room, and it's like, I like it here. It's like that. I don't want to get out of bed yet. It's almost like that feeling. And I do clearly remember it. And then I sort of like, who the hell are you lot? Where the hell am I? And that thought of, I shouldn't be here. This is too soon. I can clearly remember that. So I have been here before, as we all have, because we're just recycled over and over again while we're in this silly endless loop. Libra, that's an air sign as well. Outpouring of spirit, yes. Yes, it doesn't even, it's a flow, because water is the 3D of air, which is spirit anyway. So see how wonderful this works. Have I seen the video with reindeers circling in one direction? No, I haven't. I'm thinking like the patterns that birds do when they congregate is coming to mind with this. There's a lot of animals are worth watching and observing for their behaviour as much as anything else. As an index, horse sense. I mean, that's a big one. That's a good guardian to have if you've got horses. I think. I know a few people that have a horse connection, love of horses and things, and that's magical. All the ear ringing has just gone up again. I do want to. I do have this. It's funny. I don't have any interest in sports, but I do want to play football with cows, of all things. I think they're brilliant creatures. They're inquisitive. I love that aspect of them. Well, all animals. I know shouldn't have favourites, but I don't think we can help it. And I think we are drawn to certain animals. With me, it's giraffes. Spiritual meaning for that one was good as well. It's sort of being in touch with Earth and head and shoulders over everybody else. And I thought, wow, maybe that's why I'm seeing things that a lot of people don't. Present company accepted. We do have our heads in heaven. That is our heavens, the Aries and the Taurus aspect. It's funny. I talked about on the first one I made yesterday, about the Prometheus, and explaining about running the zodiac, running from Aries, ending in Pisces on the soles of the feet. Soul being a fish as well, and then Martin Liedtke read out something that was more the same thing. How the zodiac is related to the parts of the body. It's something Santos Bonacci talks in depth about as well. Rudy, hi. Hey, this is good. All the crowd is back, as it were. I'm a bit of a night owl. What are we now? Oh, 4:10. Whoops. I really ought to get to bed soon. Yeah, ants are they're supposed to go on scent trails, and one scout will go one way and then come back and then put a stronger scent if there's a choice of. I think that's how they work, and they cover phenomenal ground. But even the insects, one ant will throw itself into the jaws of a praying mantis while the rest overpower. So one will sacrifice itself for the whole colony. So even insects and things do a far better job than humanity of sticking together. They may not work on the same way with emotions and things, and they seem to be far more over towards the logical, particularly with ants. But they do pull together and work as one. Okay, within one colony, because you've obviously got the thing with the red ants, and the ones will feed off the other ones. Even they have their own vampire versions and things, energy vampires and whatever. Even in that, perhaps it's a cycle of nature, but needs to change. That's so. Oh, DJ Harden, you're welcome. I enjoy doing these, especially now with this better internet connection. I can do the live ones, and then I've got the interaction as well, which is lovely, rather than just talking to a screen and sort of looking at myself, as it were. And I haven't got to spend hours up waiting for the things to upload. So it's a win-win-win. Where are we? 11:11. Yeah, my clock's saying 5:11 on the laptop, but the clock on the wall saying 4:11 because I don't change the time. But yeah, I mean, confirmation sign, the 1111. Notice it's four. 4 compass points. Maltese cross has 4 points as well. 4 square. The cube and everything. It's all 90-degree angles, angels. Everything all connects in on this. The 1111 is, I think, from what I can remember, it's the sort of coming together of everything. Yeah, Rudy, I think you're Yorkshire, aren't you? So yeah, you're the same time zone. But it's like, why I'm not being cheated out of an hour of daylight at the end of the day, because I don't get up with an alarm clock. I wake up naturally. It's much nicer. I'm really lucky. I'm not in this debt slave situation, so I haven't got to worry. And I think it's all intentional. 7-Eleven. It's amazing. This is the beauty of this internet, and this is also the thing you notice with time, how illusory it is just on this, because we've all got different times, but at the same time, if that makes sense. Are you in Scotland? A long time since I've been up there. Beautiful. But I'm going more with the, not the physical moving, I'm going with the projection side. Then the physical is no longer a barrier as well. And I do think 2020, so they say, this, I forgot what I was saying now. It's gone. It's getting early, late, whichever, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. An extraterrestrial crisis. Hopefully something good, not something bad. Thank you for joining me. That's it. You've just the physical body is no longer a barrier. That, I think, that is where you're going to see the greatest increases in this, the synchronicities and the spiritual connections, and the senses will begin to unlock, and you'll be aware and see and hear and feel so and sense so much more. Blew the mind as well. Coming back to that, when you try and get your head around something, the limits of your imagination. Well, isn't that like a Big Bang Theory when you blow your mind? To put it, reverse engineer where they've got the idea of that from. That this is not something I've thought of. This is all because you've put means blew my mind. See how it sparks. So you're teaching me. This is why we're all students, observers, and teachers all in one, because I've observed what you've said, and I've learned from it, and then it sparked something in me. This is the wonder of it. This is brilliance in being able to show it live in action. Anyway, we're coming up to nearly 2 hours, and we're now 5:15 here. So I've got the 515. Ha! So that's 11. So it's still a 1-1, which is a win-win. Some may hear a physical pop in the head. Yes, I've heard of this with the third eye popping open, and cool. I did not get this real sort of numb, dull, achy feeling in the back, the sort of the pineal gland area at the back of the head, when we've had these new moons and blood moons and things. It was a funny. It wasn't a headache. It wasn't unpleasant, but it was a funny feeling. Anyway, that's enough for me. I must retire. Go off to dreamland. The body will rest, but the soul will may even see you on the astral plane. So I'm going to say ta-ta for now, and thank you all for joining me. Have a good day, night, evening, morning, afternoon, whatever time it is, and see you again soon. Thank you very much. And as usual, this is not going to switch off. There we go. Right. I am going this time. So I wish you all well, and thank you very much for joining. Come on. Finish up. Oh.